Luke chapter 24, the first 8 verses. But very early on Sunday morning, the woman went to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared. And they found that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance. Verse 3, so they went in, but they didn't find the body of the Lord Jesus. And as they stood there puzzled, 2 men suddenly appeared to them clothed in dazzling robes. The women were terrified and bowed their face to the ground. And then the men asked, why are you looking among the dead for someone who is alive? The New King James, or King James says, why are you looking for the living among the dead? Verse 6, He isn't here. He is risen from the dead. Remember what He told you back in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be betrayed into the hands of sinful men and be crucified, and that He would rise again on the 3rd day. Verse 8, and then they remembered that He said this to them, so they rushed back from the tomb to tell His 11 disciples and everyone else what had happened. Verse 10, and it was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and several other women who told the apostles what had happened. Verse 11, but the story sounded like nonsense to the men, so they didn't believe it. Can you believe that? Men not believing women? But the story sounded like nonsense to the men. Wow, who would have thought it? Verse 12, however, Peter jumped up and ran to the tomb to look. Stooping, he peered in and he saw the empty linen wrappings. And then he went home again, wondering what had happened. Wow. Let me ask the question, have you ever gone into a large store that had dozens of aisles and multiple departments and you were looking for a specific item? Anybody ever done that before? We all have. You could spend the whole day searching for that one item if you don't know where to look for it and never find it. The reason being is that you're looking in the wrong place. You're not in the right place. You're not in the right aisle where that item is. From time to time, my wife, Rose, will give me a grocery list. Have y'all know what a grocery list is? A list of items to get at the grocery store and send me to the grocery store to get them. Now, I shop like a man. I know what I want. I go in, I know where it is, I get it, I go, I check out, I'm gone. That's how I shop. Unless it's a sporting goods store, then that's all different there. That's totally different, you know. And so I'll go to the grocery store, and I don't grocery shop enough by myself to know where all those unique items are, you know. Now I know where the chicken is. I know where the bread is. I know where the milk is. But when it gets into those details of things and this mix here and that mix and this can, I don't know. And they don't have everything listed on a big board here. They have kind of items that's down this aisle, but it doesn't have the item I'm looking for. And so every now and then I'll have to break down and do what men do not want to do. I'll have to ask for directions. I'll ask someone that has a badge on that they work there. And sometimes I'm in a store and one of our members are there, one of our church families there, and they'll see me wandering around like the children of Israel in the desert. And they'll come up to me and say, Pastor, can I help you? I say, yeah, here's my list. Can you show me where this is? Oh, yeah, this is right back here. And you go over in this aisle. And even they tell me what aisle it's in and about where it is, and it's confusing because I don't know where to look. That's the way they were this day. They were looking for the living. And they were looking for the dead in a place where the dead stayed. But Jesus wasn't dead anymore. He was alive. Many people approach life in the same manner. They're searching for life where there is no life. See, we as human beings are fascinated with the search for life. We invest billions of dollars to send probes into outer space and to distant planets to probe the soil, to see if there's some type of microorganism, if there's life on another planet. I've got good news for you. There is life on another planet. If you're wondered that if we're the only ones in the universe, we're not. There's a planet called heaven, and there's angels there, and there's other people there, and there is life in outer space, by the way. You see, others spend their entire whole lives researching the past to try to find the origin of life. But most of us are just trying to find a way to get better gas mileage, or to get that loan for that dream home, or that special relationship. You see, everyone in some way is looking for the same thing, life. Everybody say life. See, the problem is that most people are in the wrong aisle. They're in the wrong part of the store looking for life. On that first resurrection morning, several faithful women went to the tomb and to complete the embalming process. They'd started it, but they hadn't finished it. And when they arrived, they were greeted by two angels in this particular recollection of Luke's gospel, who made one of the most profound statements ever. Why are you looking among the dead for someone who is alive? Now, this powerful statement could be summed up in two words: love lives. Say that with me. Love lives. The resurrection of Jesus Christ gives us several life lessons. Let's look at a couple here today. First of all, love lives to set us free. You see, everything that God has a purpose with it. So there's a purpose in doing everything that He has done and everything that He says. And one of the things is love lives to set us free. In John's Gospel, chapter 19, verses 40 through 41, he says this about Jesus. They took the body of Jesus and bound it in strips of linen with the spices, and the custom of the Jews is to bury. Verse 41, now in the place where He was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb in which no one had yet been laid. Now notice it says that Jesus was bound and placed in a tomb that was sealed with a large rock. The reason it was sealed with a large rock was because the Jews were afraid that the disciples would come and steal the body of Jesus and then say that He's resurrected, because He did prophesy that He would rise again. So they put a large rock that took, 2 or 3 men to roll in front of it so that it couldn't easily be moved. They stationed Roman guards there. One of the Gospels tells us about the account to where when the guards came to and they realized what had happened, they'd seen the angel as well, and the angel rolled the stone away. They came and told the chief priests and all of the religious leaders that had Jesus crucified that, hey, angels came, rolled the stone away, and Jesus is resurrected. He's alive. Now, you would think that would be a miraculous conversion in those people, that they'd fall on their face and repent and say, oh, we have crucified the Son of God. No, what did they do? They said, here's some money. You go tell everybody that His disciples came and did it. And if it gets to the governor that you were asleep during that time, we'll cover for you. It'll be okay. And that's a popular theory today among the Jewish people. Kind of sounds like our world today, doesn't it? People who aren't interested in truth, and even when they hear the truth, they'll pay somebody money to go and tell another lie to cover up the truth. You see, people with an agenda are never concerned about the truth. They never let it get in their way. Back to this message today. Jesus was bound and placed in a tomb and sealed. Have you ever felt like you were bound up, restricted in life with no ability to do what you really wanted to do? No matter where you are, how bound up your life seems right now, Jesus has life for you. See, when the women went into the tomb that morning, they found that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance. Obviously, the angels moved the stone from the entrance of the tomb. The stone was there to keep Jesus in this tomb. Well, what stone is holding you back? What stone has been rolled over the mouth of a tomb that you feel like you're in today, that's restricting you from really enjoying and experiencing life? Maybe it's a stone of failure. All of us have failed. If you haven't, you're going to. Welcome to planet Earth. It's life. Failure really is not just the making of a mistake. Failure is when you don't get up and try again. The great football coach Vince Lombardi said, it's not whether you get knocked down or not, it's whether you get back up again. That's what matters. Is the stone in front of a tomb of your life, is the stone in front of your life right now the stone of failure? How about the fear of failure? Well, I know God wants me to do this, or I know I'd like to do this, or I'd like to start this, or I'd like to get involved in this, or I'd like to do this, but I'm afraid I would fail if I did that, if I attempted that. Don't live your life with woulda, coulda, shouldas. Wished I had of. Live your life with, I tried it. I went for it. I did my best. I achieved this. Come out of the tomb. Don't let the fear of failure be the stone that's in front of your life. How about pain? Is the stone pain? And the pain of life is keeping you from moving forward. The pain is keeping you from achieving. The pain is keeping you from experiencing things in life. How about pride? Oh, that's a biggie. And if it is pride, you probably don't know it. Because people who are full of pride usually don't know they're full of pride. They think they're full of humility. How about regret? We all have a little bit of a pain of regret, don't we? If we be honest in our lives, if we would all retrace our past just a little bit, is there something you regret in your life? Sure. I think all of us have that stone of regret that we've got to roll out of the way. You can't live in the future by reflecting on the past and living in the past. I tell you what can deal with regret, that's forgiveness. And when God forgives you, regrets in the past. How about addiction? I just can't seem to overcome this. I can't seem to overcome this. I can't seem. It's the stone that's keeping you from experiencing life. But Jesus died on the cross so that you and I could be free. Right. Love lives to set us free from anything. How about unforgiveness? Oh, the list just goes on and on and on. Unforgiveness. Have you ever, like me, felt like you just couldn't forgive somebody? I'm going to kind of wave like that at me, yeah. Some of you are like, no, this is a trick question. I am not moving. They have cameras on me. I'm going to be on Facebook because Unforgiveness. That's a biggie. Forgiving some people that have hurt you or hurt your family. That's tough. It's difficult. But you know, God never asks us to do anything that He won't enable us to do. And He will enable us. We forgive just like we do anything else by faith. How about wounds or hurts from your past? How about rejection? Anybody here beside me ever been rejected before? Yeah. Rejection. I'm afraid I'm going to get rejected again. I'm not going to step out. I'm not going to do this because somebody may reject me. Let me tell you, there's always people that will reject you and me. There's always groups of people out there in life that we all have to deal with. The names may change, but there are always certain groups of people. There'll be the criticizing group over here. There'll be the rejecting group over here. There'll be the condemning group over here. There'll be the encouraging group over here. There'll be the believing group over here. Guess what group I'm going to run toward? Not everybody is going to like us or love our dream or surround us with, oh, you're so wonderful. But there will be those who will. Find those. Find those people. Those are the people you need to do life with. Those are the people full of faith and power. Oh, how about one more? How about the feeling of inadequacy? Is that the stone that's holding you back in life? Is the feeling of inadequacy. I am just not good enough, smart enough, fast enough, whatever enough. Fill in your blank there. I'm just not enough. Man, I am super familiar with that one. So you, Pastor? Yeah, me. I always feel a little inadequate about serving God and preaching the Word of God and doing the will of God. I look in the mirror and I say, who, me? I'm like Moses at the burning bush saying, that's nice, God, but get somebody else. There's got to be somebody more qualified than me. There's got to be somebody to do this better than I'm doing it, God. I just don't feel like I'm adequate. But what I've learned through these years that it's not my adequacy that God is looking for. It's my availability. See, that's what He's looking for in you. It's just availability. Don't let that be a stone that keeps you from experiencing God's best in your life. There was a story about a wise man. People would go to him complaining about the same problem over and over again. This happened for a long period of time. Finally, one day when all the people came to him to complain again, the wise man set them all down and he told a joke. And they all laughed. Ha, ha, ha. They always laughed. It was such a funny joke. And he sat there for about 5 minutes, not saying anything. And then he told the joke again. And a few people smiled. And he sat there about another 5 minutes and he told the joke again, the same joke, the third time. Nobody smiled. Nobody laughed. And the man said to them, You can't laugh at this. You can't laugh at the same joke over and over again, but you can cry about the same problem over and over again. Why is it that the joke isn't funny, but your problem is still something to cry about? See, worrying won't solve our problems, only action will. Only action will solve our problems. See, God can roll the stone away from the tomb, but you and I have to walk out of it. That's the key. We have to walk out of it. Not only does love live to set us free, but love lives to give us life. Love lives to give us life. Say that with me. Love lives to give us life. Now I want you to change that word us to the personal pronoun me. And let's say it together. Love lives to give me life. Because you see, so many times we think God has done things for other people, but He's not doing them for us. Anybody beside me ever felt that way in life? I've felt that way from time to time. Well, God's blessing them, but He's not blessing me. God's doing that for them, but He's not doing it for me. But love lives to give me life. You see, John 10:10 says, the thief does not come except to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come, Jesus said, that you may have life and have it more abundantly. You see, the cross represents the payment of a debt. Our debt of sin was paid by Jesus. Now, the empty tomb is a reminder that God's love didn't stop at a sacrifice. It didn't stop at the tomb. It didn't stop at the cross. It didn't stop on Resurrection Sunday. His love lives to give us life now. Psalm 16:11 says, you will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness, not partial, but fullness of joy. At your right hand are what? Pleasures forevermore. See, if you're looking for life, look no further than Jesus. In verses 11 and 12 we read, but the story sounded like nonsense to the men, so they didn't believe it. However, Peter jumped up and ran to the tomb to look. Stooping, he peered in and he saw the empty linen wrappings, and then he went home again wondering what had happened. So you got a bunch of men here that didn't believe what happened and wondered what happened. Here are the men that Jesus empowered to take His message to the world, and they don't believe what they've been told or what they've seen. Finally, after Jesus appears to them, they finally get it. They finally believe. But what are some of the things that keep us from Jesus today? Really, there's three main things. Number one is unbelief in Jesus. What keeps us from love that lasts? Well, what keeps us from that? Unbelief. It's amazing to me that Jesus, hanging on the cross, the Bible said He hung among thieves. There were two guys that were hanging on the cross being killed as well, crucified. Two thieves. That's what the Bible calls them. And one of those individuals is the one that cried out to Jesus and said, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Well, to me, that's the greatest faith statement in the Bible. It's one thing to come up to Jesus when He was walking with His disciples and says, I know you can heal me, Jesus. I know you can. And Jesus says, if you can believe, all things are possible. Oh, Lord, I believe. That's all wonderful. And the woman who had great faith, who said, even the dogs get the crumbs off the table. Even that woman with great faith, I still think this is the greatest faith statement. Why? Because he's hanging next to a Jesus who's dying. What kingdom is that guy going to have? He's about dead. He's in worse shape than I am. He's got a crown of thorns on his head. He's been beaten with 40 stripes. He's mutilated beyond imagination. And he looks at him and says, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Now that's a faith statement. And Jesus said, today you will be with me in paradise. Today, right now, today. But then there was another guy. And the other guy blasphemed Jesus. Hey, if you're a prophet, save yourself and save us while you're at it. Come on. If you're really all that, come on, do something. And ridiculed him to the point to his buddy in crime over here is arguing with him. How could one man believe and another man not believe? Choices. I choose to believe. Unbelief in Jesus keeps us from love that lasts. Another thing that keeps us from it is our will. We talked about this last week with the rich young ruler. He had a value problem. He valued his possessions more than he valued a relationship with Jesus. And his will kept him from experiencing Jesus. But I think there's one more. I think it's hidden in those scriptures I just read to you in verse 11 and verse 12, where the disciples did not believe the women and they wondered what was going on. And here's what I think the third thing, and maybe one of the biggest things that keeps us from love that lasts, is our pain. They were in pain. They'd walked with Jesus for three and a half years. They'd seen him walk on water. They'd seen him raise the dead. Peter had seen him transfigured on the Mount of Transfiguration. Peter had the revelation, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. He watched him. They watched him take one little lunch and feed thousands of people with it. They had seen the miracles. They saw the leprosy heal, the blind eye. They saw the dead raised. They experienced that with him. And you can't take that experience away from them. But now, with their understanding, they didn't have a grip on what was going on, and he's dead. But I thought we was bringing a kingdom in. I thought we were going to rule and reign with him. They're hurting. These guys are in pain. They're hurting on the inside. And Mary and Salome, the other ladies that went to the tomb, come back and says, we saw him. He's alive. He's alive. They're all excited. Like, yeah, right, sure. They didn't believe him because they were hurting so much. I think sometimes in our lives, we are in pain, and that pain keeps us. It keeps us from experiencing the life that God has for us. What is keeping you from experiencing that life? Have you ever been sick? Anybody ever been sick? Some of you are like, I ain't raising my hand. I don't care what he says. Even if he wants to know if I want to go to heaven. No, I'm not going to heaven. How many of you have been sick? You ever been sick? Well, now you got nothing to do if you're sick. You're laying in bed, so that's a good time to pray, isn't it? Have you know that's a tough time to pray? Why? You don't feel like praying because you're in pain. Especially if your sickness is producing pain in your body. That's when you need somebody praying for you because you don't feel like praying because you're in pain. That's how they were. They were in pain. And that pain, whether it's physical or it's emotional, and I'm not sure which one is the worst, by the way. It just depends on the situation. And that pain kept them from believing. You know, if you don't have the freedom and the life that comes through Jesus, what is keeping you right now from His love that lives?